So, okay, I'm going to go live.
Here we
And
go.
I see I see some this is like romper room because I see Wayne and I see Chungzilla. I see Barry Valentine, Furnabulax. How are you folks? Andre Chumley here on Confronting Creativity. We're here on Make Weird Music, and this man needs almost no introduction, but I'm going to give one because that's what I have to do to stay professional. He is one of the world's guitarists, as he always says. But he's actually one of the world's most creative and wonderful guitarists. He is somebody that we all met with Frank Zappa's music, and then we saw him play with a long list of people: David Bowie, Talking Heads, King Crimson, and the Bears, and all his own bands. We'd be here till midnight just listening that kind of stuff, and all the wonderful other albums he's played on by people like Herbie Hancock and Tori Amos, you name it. But what's most important is he's got a brand new album, and he's here right now. His name is Adrian Belew. How are you, Adrian?
I'm fantastic. How are you, Andre?
I'm doing good,
I
man.
miss you, man.
I miss you too, bro. It's been it's been a little while since we've been on the road
Well,
together.
yeah. I mean, we all had to outwait COVID. Wait it out.
You know,
So,
it's
so I took the time to make a great record. I love this record. I'm really happy with it, and to teach myself how to do digital paintings. So I made the
that's
best of
awesome.
the COVID thing.
Well, that's great. Well, we're going to talk a lot about that tonight. Let's start right out with that. We'll jump around a bit tonight. And folks, I want to say too, it's funny because some people are going, he's interviewing his boss. This is weird. Well, the whole planet is weird. So we do weird things, and it's a conversation. It's a conversation with somebody that I grew up listening to, like a lot of you folks. But I've been fortunate to work for since 2007. So we've been around the world. As I was saying, Adrian, all we need is to go to Africa and Antarctica. Then we've done all the continents. But
Africa is, I'm up for Africa. We could go on one of those photo safaris. I really want to do that. My daughter did it when she was in college. Ava
yeah,
did that, and she's been on me about it ever since. Ha ha ha! I got to go and you didn't. I've been somewhere in the world that you haven't.
yeah. But
And,
just
and,
to
and by the way, folks, this man, as always, saved my butt yesterday because my gear went down, as always. And spent 2 hours of his time yesterday walking me through what it could be and solved it, of course. So I owe you yet another time, but I'm not
well,
paying you for doing this.
no, no. Well, folks, this little part of the conversation is just to round out for people how unique it might be for us to be here speaking. But yeah, man, it's always fun because I always learn something when we troubleshoot over the phone. And it's funny. I always say that I'm here in large part because I was 17 years old. I saw King Crimson. I walked up to the edge of that stage and I went, what are these things? You guys had all this cutting edge stuff, and no one had seen any of these things before. 10-string sticks and octagonal drums and guitar synthesizers. So I started studying all that stuff, and here we are. So we'll come back to that in a bit, but I want us to start with tell us a little bit how you've felt this year, especially that you've put a ton of energy into a new record called Elevator. Just take us right to that creative area.
Well, first of all, I think that that sort of saved me, my sanity at least, because, you know, I create music or art or something, sentences. I create anything I can all the time. And when there's no way to do that and communicate that to anyone, I mean, I felt useless all of a sudden. I realized, yeah, I'm non-essential. Truly am. And and the other thing about it was I started writing feverishly, but there was no way to get my engineer to come in my house where my studio is because it was too dangerous. His wife especially has some serious heart issues, so it really seriously was dangerous for us. And I had to wait. I thought I'd be recording probably in December of 2019, and it didn't start till May of 2020. And by then I was chomping at the bit. And then we just took our time and really did it. Usually when I'm doing a record, I know what I want. And even if I'm experimenting, but I know what I'm going for. But usually if I'm doing a record, there is a time limit because you're coming up against a tour or something. There's always something. Sure. It was interesting not to have anything that I had to, know that was coming up, until recently. I didn't know when I was playing again live or anything else. So I took my time to make this record, and I really think it shows. And it's my 25th solo record, so I'm really happy with it. Very happy with this record. And the writing, I think, and I'm really happy with. It's 12 good songs, real good. I do everything, I play everything, and that's the way I like doing solo records these days. I've been doing that for a long time.
Sure.
I think the reason I do that is because I like to have the challenges, and I like playing all the instruments, and I like it being one person's vision, basically. Sort of like a painter. You don't hire 3 painters to do a painting, you just have one.
That's
and
true.
I'm the painter. And speaking of that, we'll get to this later if you want, but I also, during COVID, took up digital painting. And so this new record Elevator will have 38 examples of some of my digital painting.
That's fantastic. And we do have a couple of those to share. Yeah. So we'll show that. So that's great, man. As you say, how fortunate to have your artistry to be able to pour, because what a year. And I talked to so many artists, and I'm happy that so many artists, myself included, I did so much more music this 12 months. So I'm happy those who were able to do that. Our heart goes out, of course, to the people who have had really rough times.
And I lost some friends in that, as a lot of people did, and almost lost some family members on my wife's side. And devastating this has been for the whole world. It's just, I don't know how long it'll be till things are, quote, normal again, but I hope it won't be that long till we can come out and really get back to touring the way we used to. I'm looking forward to that. Of course, I've got some dates coming up. They're festivals. They're not what I normally do. They're not with my own band. But they are going to be really great because it's the Remain in Light 40th year birthday party.
Right. Yeah. Well, and to that point, I mean, COVID impacted this show because of course we moved things up a week, because of last week, and like so many people, you got a little punch to the gut on the getting a shot, but we were able to come on and tell people exactly some of these things that you're going out with Turquoise. And we did talk about that. We put some links up. Let's spend a couple minutes on that because we'll put some links up to the Turquoise website. Give us a quick brief on that because that tour sounds exciting. You, Jerry Harrison, a full band. Tell us about that.
Well, the idea started a couple of years back. I was thinking at that time that what the world needed, this was pre-COVID, was another kind of uplifting record, another uplifting kind of performance like that Talking Heads extended band was. That band would just get you off your feet instantly and you'd be smiling and smiling the whole night and it never let up. And that's one of the reasons why some people say it was the best Talking Heads. I'm not saying that myself, but and then there's the Rome show, which is up on the internet, and people tell me all the time that it's the best concert they ever saw. So Jerry and I started talking about that, and I said, we ought to do that show. And then we realized, okay, the birthday of that record, Remain in Light, was last year, 40th birthday. And at the same time, he was working with Turquoise and had produced a record with them. And he said, I know just the band that we should have. It's already a great funk band. And all we need to do is jump in there. So he flew to Nashville, here where I live. And they were playing one night at Exit In, which that club.
Sure.
And so we went down to see them. And we were standing in the balcony. And they played 3 songs. And I turned to Jerry and I said, you're right. This will work beautifully. They have the right sound and the right attitude, really sweet people. And man, they make a show that just, we're going to make a show that's going to make you dance and be happy. That's what I wanted. Kind of what I want with Elevator as well, which is why I named it Elevator, is I want it to be an uplifting thing for people. So I'm really excited about these shows. Now, I've come at it from lots of different angles. At first, I thought, wow, I'm going to just do exactly what I did on those records back then.
Sure.
I couldn't do that if I wanted to. I realized, no, there's no way.
Sure. Yeah.
And I worked through that, and I worked through different, ideas of how to do this, because festivals are different, folks. If you don't know this, when you see me do my show in a club or a theater, I've had all day to get it set up right.
Right.
Make sure everything's working correctly. And lots of times, André, you've wrestled with my gear over and over to make sure it works by showtime. You can't do that in a festival.
Yeah.
You got to plop your stuff on the stage and plug in and play. You get nothing. You get no sound check. You get nothing. It's like you're on in 2 minutes. Here, go. And if it doesn't work, you're standing there in front of 40,000 people looking like an idiot. So
true.
We redesigned my rig. We took out everything that we thought was troublesome, and we got it lean and mean now. And here we go. On top of that, and this will probably be news to some people, my guitar setup has been a MIDI guitar rig for the past 10 years or so, maybe 12. And the guitar I've used is the Adrian Belew model Parker Fly, which requires a 13-pin cord. You can't plug that guitar into any system other than a MIDI guitar system. So wanting to use my system was a bit of a problem, but wanting to use something else, because I couldn't use my Fly with anything else. So I went to Fender and I talked to their custom shop, and I said, I'm going to need some guitars, that are regular guitars. They're not MIDI guitars. So I can kind of go back in time. This is when I was thinking I might be able to mimic what I used to do.
Do the exact thing, right?
Long story short, they built me 2 brand new custom Fenders. And they have, a Sustainiac, and they have all the little bells and whistles on them and I like. And I found a beautiful new tremolo that's called a Vega trim. It's really works perfectly. It's made in Spain. So I went to the January 2019 NAMM show trying to figure this out and what pedals I should get and everything. And I saw these guys over in this corner, these 3 Spanish guys. They didn't seem to be talking to anybody. And I walked over and I looked at their thing, and it was the Vega trim, one of the items I was looking for to put on the what was I going to put on these new Strats. And I sat down and played a Strat that they have it with on, and I started talking to them. They just blankly looked at me for a minute or two. I was with a friend of mine, and he was saying, hey guys, you should, get Adrian, to, work with you on this thing. I mean, they didn't know a thing. So the next day I went back, and I guess they had Googled me by then. They came literally running up to me. Here, we want you to use our product.
That's great.
It was just hilarious. So it works out really well.
That's great to hear. Well, that's a long thread, Aid, of just you always have looked for the new stuff, the new gear, trying out new things. Of course, our dear friend Mike Matthews at Electro Harmonics, early on you were trying out every single thing. I wanted to share with people, because that just as we talk about this Talking Heads show, it's such a special concert, that 1980. And folks, if you haven't seen this, please go watch it. It's really a very special young Adrian. And there's Jerry. So, and I believe that Strat is right behind you on the wall.
It is. It's right behind me here. What a skinny band.
What a skinny band. Just a little taster there, folks.
Yeah, folks, look right here. You see that Strat.
There's that Strat, guys. Yeah. Guys and gals,
played that Strat on the Long RHINO record, on the David Bowie record. I played it with Frank. I played it with Talking Heads on Remain Light. I played it on the Discipline record.
If somehow some of you are watching this and you haven't seen that, look, that's your homework. Just punch in Talking Heads Live in Rome, 1980. Yeah. Great quality. And as Adrian said, this Turquoise set, you're going to pull from a lot of that set list, right?
Yeah, we are. We're going to add in a little bit of our own stuff, one song from each of us.
Sure.
But basically, the rest of it is going to be pretty much that show. Not all of it, but, Houses in Motion, Born Under Punches, Psycho Killer, The Great Curve, Once in a Lifetime, those kinds of things that are from that record. It's a strange record because when I went in the studio with them for one day, I think they were kind of lost. Jerry later told me that they thought they were just fooling around. They didn't think they knew what they were doing anymore. They'd lost their way, kind of.
Right.
And he said to me that when you came in, Adrian, you were so excited about playing on it, everybody got interested again.
That's great. Yes.
So you can thank me for saving the Remain in Light album, folks. That's all I'm telling you.
Well, you're such a catalyst, and yes, all the countless artists you work with, some I've met, some I've just read interviews, and that is a common thread. People always say, man, we plugged him in and stuff started happening, magnetic things started happening. So that's great. Turquoise, people, check the dates, check that out. Let's jump back to Elevator, which, and I always want to thank Anthony Garone, because what a madman. He's the guy who put together this whole Make Weird Music idea. It's a website. It's Facebook, Instagram. We've got this whole universe happening. And he's been so kind and helpful to me to develop this conversational interviews that I do. But he was on before, and we both were so chuffed to get a world premiere of these beautiful new songs. So let's listen a little bit, and let me have you set this up. So we've got a couple tracks here. And again, folks, this is from the brand new forthcoming Adrian Belew album, Elevator. And one more thing I want to say as I set this up, folks. This is a time when artists, we can talk all day about the pros and cons of streaming and mailing and doing your own business, where are the record companies. But one thing we do know is that artists are in control with their Bandcamp. And it's something that you can support artists directly. This is a way that you can support countless artists. But I'm very happy to announce that Adrian has just in the past several months set up his Bandcamp page. And we've got, I'd love you to please go there. All the previous 24 albums are there, plus a couple greatest hits and compilations. It's a beautiful, beautifully done Bandcamp page. They aren't all. This one's done really well. And I understand, of course, Julie Slick helped you out with this, right? And
that's right. She put all the stuff up correctly.
Yeah. So
Thank you, Julie.
Beautifully done, folks. So please
she
go
was
there.
Visiting at the time.
Awesome. But I mean, it's very complete. Everything's there. You can take a little listen to a track here and there. But these are records that are very hard to find. Twang Bar King, these things, these releases are very hard to find. So please, and with someone who's had a career with different record companies and different ups and downs with all these record companies, finally, you can support this artist directly. So please do that, folks. We know that you're passionate about that. So I just wanted to say that before we go to the brand new stuff. So, okay, little detour there, Aid, but set me up now with which track should I play first? Tell me. I've Back to Love, Morning, and Car. What do you?
Let's play I Want a Car I Can Talk To.
Okay. Do you want to?
It's the first song on the record, so it just breaks out from the get-go, and it starts right from the, you get vocals pretty quickly, so there you go.
Okay, let's
I can talk to, one that wants to get to know me. I want a car to interact with, open my door and have a chat with. A car that knows the way I like my seat and the temperature I want it to be. I want a car that would listen to me, one that I can tell my troubles to, drive around and hang out with. A car that's never argumentative, she makes me feel so comfortable. I want to drive around the world. She has so much style, she drives me wild. She's such a beauty, she does something to me. She sets me free, she sets me free. I like the car that can think fast, make the beat me in the chest match. And when we go together somewhere, the car to tell me how to get there. And if I have a little bit to drink, the car to drive me back home again. She has so much style, she drives me wild. She's such a beauty, she does something to me. She sets me free. I wanna run around the world with her. She sets me free. She sets me free. She sets me free. She sets me free. A car I can talk to.
Oh man. You know, we said it would be a preview, but that was so hard to hit stop on. And what I
That's
love
okay,
is
it's a short one.
it's a short one. You know, you and I always talk about the Beatles and all those great singles, and there's something about a 3-minute song.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. And when you write one, you better keep it that way.
Well, you know, in the midst there, just for fun, folks, I stuck a couple shots up, of course. Adrian's Twitter, by the way, please follow on his Twitter account because he'll be announcing a lot of this stuff coming up, and he'll be announcing a lot of stuff about the artwork, he tells me, this summer. So go to Adrian Belew's Twitter, easy to find. It's the real Adrian Belew. Is that correct? Yeah. But I also put up your Thunderbird because I thought of cars that you love. Talk to us a little bit about your love of cars and what led to those lyrics, and tell us about that.
You know, a lot of people that love cars, because I read a lot of magazines about it and books. It turns out that it's from their childhood. It's cars that their uncles had, or something that they admired when they were young, and they always wish they could have that. So when they grow up and they finally can, by then they can afford one. Well, they get one. In my case, I built model cars. That's another entrance to the car hobby. When I was 10 or 12 years old, I would sit around and build model cars. Another friend of mine who went to our church built them, and we would compare, our cars and things. And so I just, over the years, know so much about cars from different eras. I've got hundreds of books about them. And to be able to own one or two of them, I have two vintage cars. One's a Mercedes. The one you saw there is a 1959 Ford Thunderbird with a power roof. Can you imagine? the
Amazing.
power roof opens up and goes back into the trunk in 1959. And then I have a beat up old farm truck from 1965 Chevy, because it was what my father used to drive. So there are reasons why you have these attachments to these items, you know. And I just think cars are great. I know they cause some problems in, you know, environmentally and everything, but trust me, I drive that T-Bird about once a month.
Oh, I know.
To the grocery store and back.
Right.
But what I did do is I got a Tesla, a Model 3 Tesla. Fabulous car. And that's what caused me to write this song, because I jumped into the new world of car technology and I realized, wow, this is fun. This is really, I love this car. And so I got clever with it. You know, I don't want to be in a car that can drive me around, although this car could. But right. At the last line of the song says, and if I have a little bit to drink, my car will drive me back home.
Bring you home. Yeah. I caught that. That's great.
So there you go.
That's fantastic.
Let's go to the Beach Boys meet Adrian.
Well, yes.
I like the feel of it. It's got that old Strat sound, you know, and
it does
harmonies and stuff.
It does.
And it's one I played everything on all these songs, so I was pretty happy there with my little drum flourish at the end. Oh, there she is.
Yeah, there she is. And, you know, let's look at that for a minute. And much like your Stratocaster love, here's another brilliant piece of American ingenuity from the 50s. I've had the pleasure, folks, of sitting in this car with Aid, and it's, wow, it is incredible. And he's taught me so much about car technology. Again, I think folks might not have heard what you said. Power windows in 59?
Now, the roof on that car is a power roof. The trunk opens up and swallows the roof.
Amazing.
In 1959.
Yeah.
They actually started that. Ford had that in 1957 and carried it just for a few years, you know. And it's a hydraulic system, and mine all works perfectly. And it's quite a sight to see, actually. People love it when I put the top down or up.
That's great. And that's another one of the fun things on an Adrian Belew tour is whatever city we're in, if there's some cars, an exhibit or something, if we have a day off, he will go to see some shows. Or if there's just a really sweet car parked up the block, Adrian will say, hang on a second, you know, and he knows what these cars are. So I don't think some people know that about you, but I think a lot of fans don't realize your love for cars and all the books that you collect on cars.
I think strangely, a lot of guitar players seem to have an affection for cars. Like, you know, a lot of guys. I could name a list right now. I won't bother, but you know, it's kind of a little club of us who have affection for it.
So, okay, well, jumping back then to the new record, because you, as you said before, you did some gear journeys for this record. Talk to me a little bit about recording this record, because as people know, the past several years, as you said, you've been using the 13-pin technology, and you've been using Axe FX and direct technology. You've been using, we have Ableton Live on the stage. We have all this great stuff, Roland GP10, VG99. But you did something very interesting, you say, on this record for the tones and the amplification. Talk to us about that, how you recorded it, just the guitar setup.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, there was a period of a few months where I was searching around for a way to invent something easy to play with for the festivals. So I thought, well, I'm going to go back to Stratocasters because I don't have, my Parkers won't work. And what am I going to play through? So I thought of putting together the old style stomp box pedal board, where you've got maybe 6 or 8 pedals on a board. And I got that all working and everything. And what I was playing it through as I was trying all the pedals were these 2 little speaker practice amps, Boss practice amps, about this big. And, you know, I put them on mic stands. They got 2 5-inch speakers in them. And I got to love that sound so much with my Parker Fly or with a Stratocaster. I got another Parker Fly that's, you know, I could play that through. Mm-hmm. The one that was first given to me in Japan, the original type of fly without the MIDI. And I got so used to that sound, I was really thrilled with it. I pretty much recorded everything with that. And I would take that on stage with me, except I don't think the two small practice amps can put out enough sound
Right.
to battle with an 11-piece band with horns and,
Sure.
and backup singers and everything else. But yeah, it was great because it was what I needed, because it also was kind of a tonic. You know, you get to a point with your gear where you feel like, gee, I don't know, what more can I do here?
Yeah.
And now that I went away from that, my old gear, and I'm coming back to it again, I'm finding new things I can do with my gear that I had been using.
That's great.
So it's really worked out well. That's guitar stuff. When I'm making a record, especially a solo record, I'm just so totally immersed in it. I think from the second I wake up in the morning, I'm right on the problem that whatever I was trying to figure out the night before, or I've finished the words for some song and I've got 3 or 4 of those in the works at all times. So there's so much to do, and it's just so engaging that it's my favorite thing to do. I mean, I love performing live, but I'll say sitting in the studio, which is the bottom of my home. When you come to my home, you come down the driveway. It's a sloping driveway, and you see the front of the house, and that's the part where the living quarters. But when you go around the back of the house, there's a whole other floor that you don't see. And that is, as you know, where this room is that I'm sitting in, and where the studio is, and also even the guest quarters for people like Robert Fripp or someone who would come and stay for extended periods. So I'm down here in my studio, and I just feel like I'm on another planet. And it's so wonderful working all these things out. And that's why I enjoy doing it myself, because it's sort of like, well, I want to work out the drum parts. I want to figure out what the bass player would play.
Yeah.
And, and I've got all kinds of gear. And speaking of gear, when it comes to the recording studio and things like that, I'm partial to both things, analog and digital.
Right.
People ask me that. I use analog drums. I use string bass sometimes. I use electric bass. I use keyboard bass. I use, I think you use all the tools. And the same is true with the studio itself. Yeah, it's mostly digital. It's mostly, Pro Tools with a computer. But there are also some tube preamps and some other things that we use, because all those things, are required to get what I want out of it. So right. I'm not a digital snob, and I'm not an analog snob either. I love it all.
Yeah, that's I've learned so much from you on that front, and that's exactly the message. It's always what works. If it sounds great, and we can work with it. Yeah. So you've answered a couple questions there. There's a couple people have been asking, are there guests on the record? And as you said before, you play everything, and you're playing a real drum set. So someone asked, and that's Adrian on the drums.
Just so they know, I've been playing that real drum set on my records since Mr. Music Head.
Right.
Yeah, so most of my records out of the 25, I've been the drummer for every bit of them, and played all the bass and other things, piano, cello, koto. I mean, anything I can get my hands on, I can usually make an acceptable noise with it. Yeah, and that's the process that I like. I get plenty of time to play with other musicians and engage with them, which is one of the reasons why throughout my solo career, I've often had a second side, be it the Bears or King Crimson or the Power Trio, or something that represents being able to work with other people, right, and filter their ideas and mix my ideas with theirs. So I don't like to be alone for everything I do, but I find it fun. With the solo records, I do the artwork, I do the design, I do the whole bit. And it's that way you're really getting what's in my head. And that's what it's all about for the solo works.
Well, absolutely. And you've pointed that out. That's a nice yin-yang balance, I think, because, of course, you've been in such incredible bands, and you fit right in so many of the sideman aspects, whether it's Talking Heads we were just talking about, or Tom Tom Club, Herbie Hancock, Paul Simon, so many records. With the effects, again, I think people should also note that that you have this, I think, this straight line through where you've tried all these different devices for 40 some years, but you really don't let it distract you. You know what sound you're going for. Now, you've said to me in the past, I want you to share this with people, how you a little bit of your process, because from what I understand over the years, you get a new piece of gear and you sit down and you squeeze everything out of that one box. You really, I've seen you do it. You take a week and you say, I want to learn everything about this. And then you kind of start to go to the next level. Talk about that a little bit, because I think a lot of people just don't spend enough time with some of these new devices. They just,
it depends on the device, how deep it can go and how much time you can spend with it. But even the very, very old pedals back in the late 70s, you mentioned Mike Matthews, who, by the way, I sent him a letter for his 80th birthday the other day, telling him how much I love him. But even those old pedals that just had 3 or 4 knobs on them, some of them, you could get them to do things they weren't supposed to do. So when you say squeezing something out of them, that's exactly the term. Because I would work and finally I would find some little weird combination of something or a broken way of doing things.
Right.
And it's a little harder to do, frankly, with all the great new gear, because it's so well engineered.
Right.
You're never going to find any place in there that will do that. But with the new gear, what you have is just an incredible depth of things you can combine until you find something that really shouts out to you. And you're right. I in my younger days, I would sit till 3 or 4 a.m. With headphones on, tweaking knobs until I finally found something. And so often those things, and they still do this, would be the catalyst for a new piece of music or a new song or something would come from that. So it wasn't just me noodling around with knobs and pedals. It was me trying to be inspired by technology itself.
Yeah.
Trying to, widen my vocabulary musically, if you want to put it that way.
That's great. And I'm glad you said that part of that the sound inspires you once you've really absorbed it.
Always has.
I love that. And I love that. I on purpose, I didn't say that to spoil that part for people, because that's been one of the greatest lessons over the years working for you, because you've said that many times and I've seen it in action. I've seen you working on songs, working on pieces. Yeah, Mike Matthews, happy 80th. And we give thanks. People don't know who that is. That's the gentleman of Electro-Harmonics. And, we have, let's look real quick here. This goes back. Now, folks, if you haven't seen this is on
have
YouTube.
Settings for regeneration or feedback, which causes the note to continue on and on. They also have width or speed or depth or various controls like that. Now what I'm doing here is just changing those controls to change the shape of the sound. I also like to cut this off abruptly. One of the first sounds that really interested me to try and effect on guitar was the sound of a seagull, which I've used on lots of records since. It's really quite easy. It's just a matter of using an echo, a slide, and your volume control. The hand technique is quite important. You slide the volume in sort of out of tempo with the tempo of the echoes. I generally suggest a delay setting or echo
yeah, just a
setting
little
of about
teaser there. But what
Professor
I find,
Belew, tell us more.
well, folks, go watch that. It's more homework for you, brilliant listeners. Just go look. It's Adrian Belew, 1984.
Let me say this. If you do
please.
watch this, I want you to have the backstory, which is
Yeah.
the day or so before that was filmed in New York City, I was making a King Crimson video in London. And for the video, they wanted me to come up from a tub of water, just come up. So the way they did it was they kept me dunking me into this water backwards, which was horrific, to be honest. and then they would reverse that camera thing. So I got on a plane the next morning and flew and got in New York City that night, and I was dreadfully ill from all of that.
God.
So the next day we had already planned out this wonderful thing, how we were going to do this. This is one of the very first guitar videos ever made, by the way.
Yeah.
And I was so sick that I'm going through the whole thing. And I had written out the whole plot and everything, and I had it. I was going to say colorful things and be funny and stuff, and I just couldn't. I couldn't even talk.
No, that's a great backstory. I remember
that was the Sleepless video, I think.
Right. That's got all the water. Well, very valuable video. And why I love to refer back to that is, again, you have some techniques and some ideas that you so kindly show us how you're doing it. And some of these things are part of your toolbox. There's a million more since then. But I love that there's that very careful kind of like, just learning every bit of those little boxes as you did then. You still do it now.
You have to take notes too, by the way.
Absolutely. And one lesson for people too that I'll share from Adrian, and he's told me this. He's always said, man, when you get those original boxes, like the original Electro-Harmonics or Boss or something, make sure you keep them, because when they update them, they always fix the cool stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Now, the original boxes that I had back when I played with David Bowie on that tour, and then right straight into Talking Heads, and even into King Crimson Discipline, the original Electro-Harmonic stuff was stolen from a studio I worked in while I was making a record many years later. I think I was making Mr. Music Head, and I actually kind of know who stole it, but what can you say,
Yeah.
But, that's a shame, because they don't know what they had. Those things really do mean something if you've used them a long time. They are hard to find again. That thing I was using right there, the polychorus,
Right.
they did change it.
Yes.
It had a 5-way switch on it, and you could notch it in between different settings, and it would start going making these huge, large insect sounds. And I'll be darned, they don't make it that way.
I love it. No, so folks, always remember, the things it's not supposed to do is often really great. Let's go back to another bite of Elevator. Again, folks, we've got Adrian Belew here. We're talking about this exciting time, which I remember since I've been 16, it's always exciting that there's a new Adrian Belew record coming out. And we're at that.
I'll tell you.
we're at that time again, and it's going to be his 25th record. Let's look at another track, Aid. Which one would you like? I've got Back to Love and Good Morning, Son.
Okay, we're going to play all three of them, though, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so then I'm going to go with Back to Love. And the reason I'm going to go with that song, it is a really simple message song. And after all of the political brouhaha and COVID and all the other things that have gone on, there came a point where I just said, you know what? We just got to get back to just loving each other again.
Yeah.
All the riots and all the other stuff, I couldn't stand it anymore. And I just said, yes, let's just get back to love. That's the one thing we all need to do. We got to remember that. And so I wanted to put it into context, though, of a song that was kind of crazy with lots of wild guitar sounds, using those effects that you and I were talking about.
Sure.
So this is a real nice, straightforward, funky song with lots of wild guitar. And every now and then the vocalist pops up and says, back to love. You got to get back to love.
Okay. That's great. Well, let's check this out, folks. Again, world premiere here with Adrian. This one's called Back to Love. And let's get our technology together and let's give this a try.
Time to get back to love.
man.
That's got a lot of the guitar stuff that you and I were just talking about.
Okay.
You hear that sound at the end, it goes, brrr. That's the polychorus I was talking about that I used way back in 1979, I guess.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's got the original polychorus on it. Okay. And then now is that done through those little amps? The little is it the Katana amps? Which ones are they?
No, these are Boss G10, I guess, because it's
okay.
2 5-inch speakers.
Right.
They're really practice amps, but they have. You know what's interesting about them? I figured it out. They take away all the sound that you don't use in guitar. Really, they don't have much low end. They don't have extreme amount of high ends. They just have that central realm of EQ.
Okay.
Yeah. You're getting a guitar sound. It's really pretty much what you end up EQing it to be on a record anyway.
Sure. Yeah, I've seen those tiny little practice amps they have. That's another throwback, of course, because we've talked about it in the 70s, you using little amps and little whatever, pig noses and practice amps and little things. I mean, you stick a mic in front of a good amp, there you go, right?
One of my favorite things Trent Reznor gave me, it's a cigarette pack that you open it up and that's where the battery is. And it has a little speaker on the front. It looks like a cigarette pack. And what you do is you put up a mic or two and you play the guitar through it and you move it around.
Yeah.
But I kind of used every trick in the book for that. There's a lot of sounds when you really have time to listen to them, and they're all done on guitar.
That's great.
That was fun to do.
Well, that's another preview here, folks. And again, I figured these songs are short enough. Adrian's been so kind to provide us with a quick snapshot of these songs. Let's play them. And again, folks, while we're getting ready for Elevator to be released, which is quite soon, they're pulling together some details, and I'm actually working with Adrian on some of the plans to promote this really well and get it out to the press. So while that's happening, it's going to be out pretty soon. But please, if there's Adrian Belew music you're missing, again, this is really a special show, because one of the things we wanted to announce on this show is he's got his new Bandcamp page. And I can't say enough how much that changes the game, because again, for all artists that are being so wonderfully supported on Bandcamp, but for all of us who loves this man's music, a lot of these records, you just can't find them, folks. And the ones you can't, or the ones that you like to put them on a digital format, they're all in one spot now. So go check it out and subscribe. Also, you can do a subscription where you get little notices. So do check that out. And, of course, Elevator's going to be not only on Bandcamp eventually, but direct order the CD. Now, talk to us about, because I also gave people a little sneak preview of some of the art there. Tell us a little bit about what you've pulled together for this, because any fans of Adrian Belew know that for many years now, he's been doing his wonderful painting and including them as inside the albums, on the backs of the albums. Talk to us about your artwork, your visual artwork.
This room I'm sitting in right here has, if you were in this room, you would see probably 10, 15, I'd say at least 30 paintings sitting over here. I've run out of wall space. And they are, they are canvas paintings with, you use palette knives and brushes and paint and all kinds of liquids and ingredients. And I love that stuff.
Yeah. I
love it. But my daughter said to me, why don't you try one of those digital programs? I said, like what? I said, well, there's one called Procreate, just download it. And because I bought an iPad and I had an iPencil with it. I thought, it'd be neat if you could draw stuff with this. Boy, was I understating, because I just started going crazy with this thing. I'm not good with learning software. You know that about me. It's not natural to me. Mm-hmm. But I jumped in just like I do with guitar stuff. I just figured it out my own way. And I really started doing painting. I've probably done at least 150 now. And in fact, we're just starting to put some of them up as NFTs to see if that is something worth doing. although I know there's some controversy about it, but I believe that NFTs will solve that controversy themselves. They have to. And if they don't, then, I won't be there. But so there's that. And then I'm also looking into making high quality prints of these, not just the digital images, but some of the old paintings that you see on the album covers, like, side one,
Side one, two, three,
four has like, I don't know how many paintings are in there. Elevator is going to have 38 digital paintings. These are all new things, like the ones you were showing. And this is what I've been doing in my downtime. I gave up a lot of things. I don't watch television anymore. I don't listen to the news or anything. I sit and do digital art instead, because it's a lot better for my head right now.
Yes.
And it's exactly the same as making music. You're dealing with the same thing, dimension and tone and color and all those same things. It comes so natural to me. I love it, and I'm having such a great time. But here's the thing, okay? And I want to say something that maybe I shouldn't say. Music is hard now. It's very hard to make money at music. They took away basically everything. And those idiots in the business side of music, the geniuses at the record labels, decided, yeah, sure, people can download everything for free. That's fine. Well, it's fine for you because you have artists who sell 10 million records. I don't. It's not fine for me.
Right.
So one of the reasons I put so many paintings in my CD is that people would buy the CD to hopefully see the paintings.
Right.
Trying to entice people, because downloading is fine. I love that too, but free streaming of my music, are you kidding? Didn't you realize it cost me $25,000 at least to make one of these records?
Yeah.
How do I get paid for that, So art is now the same way to me. They're hand in hand. I'm hoping that somehow, some way, there's a way to entice people to want these pieces of art to hang on their walls, or to buy an NFT, to do whatever you do with that. I don't even know why people do buy NFTs, by the way. I don't understand it that well. But that's kind of my thinking in this. And I'm not trying to be a mercenary. Obviously, I'm not rich, but I've done well. But I'm on my high stool here for a second, just saying, I think it's about time that artists got paid for their work again. That's all. It's fair and square. You wouldn't do that to anyone in any other business because you can't. And you shouldn't be able to do that with intellectual properties. They mean something. I put hundreds of hours, every day of my life into this stuff. Yeah. And I'm glad that people come to the shows, because as you know, touring is the one thing that's left. When you go to shows, you have to buy a ticket if you want to see it, because it's live, to experience it. And if you're there, you might say, oh, look at Martha's beautiful woman over here, Adrian's wife, by the way, who's got these CDs. Maybe I'll buy one. So absolutely. I'm not complaining about the people who do support. I'm not complaining at all. In fact, I'm only pointing out that it needs to even itself out again, to where we can, continue to be artists. Where do you think this is going to go if people don't get paid? It's unsustainable. So I just want my little tiny bit, $20.
No, that's
$15 on Bandcamp. And not all of that goes to me, folks. Anyway, now enough of that. I hate to talk about that stuff.
No,
I'm not a business person, and that's the business. I just gave you the business in a nutshell. Let's get back to the creative stuff.
Yes, no, and again, we're here to talk about whatever you want to talk about. But no, that's a very important and valid message, and people need to hear it. And that's why I'm such a big fan of Bandcamp. And I love
Bandcamp is great for that.
Because it really answers a lot of these questions, and it speaks to the fact that people are going to want to put it on devices, so it kind of meets them there. But it also says, "Here, please pay me."
And by the way, as you know, I'm a very upbeat person about these things. I think things tend to work themselves out. It will work out. It is. Bandcamp is a great example of that. They saw the need that artists need a place to be able to sell what they have in different ways. Yeah. And they answered the call, and thank you, Bandcamp. And I think more of that'll happen. I'm not worried about any of it. I guess for this record, I want everybody in the world to have it, but it's not for the money part. I just really want everybody to have this record. You're not playing these. There's 3 songs on this record that are gorgeous, beautiful songs to me. Some of the prettiest songs I've written, and the rest of it's all upbeat funk stuff and like you've been playing on, happy stuff because I want it to be uplifting. So I really feel it's a well-balanced record, and I don't usually say so much. And another thing, when I make a record, by the time I'm finished with it, I'm kind of finished with it. I kind of put it away and say, I'll come back to it a few months from now when it's fresh again. I haven't been able to put this one away. Oftentimes at the end of the day, I'll go to the studio, put the headphones on. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know every shred in every little tiny thing, no surprises, but I really love listening to it. I'm really happy with that. So there you go. That's my,
that's huge. No, thank you for sharing that. That gives us a couple perspectives on it. But yeah, and just to wrap up the very astute business side that you're discussing, the other thing, and you and I have talked about this for years, about the different record companies you've been in, and as you said at the beginning of that, the amount of that $12, that $15 that ended up with the artist, even back in the day, was just unbelievable. So again, as you say, we got some pathways to fix it. Playing live is a big one, and people know that's always been one of your major things.
I see a low battery signal on this laptop.
Do you have a power supply for that one nearby?
Yeah. Let me try to do that. Why don't you play the next song and I'll try to.
Okay. Yeah. I'll. Oh, looks like we might have lost Adrian. Okay. At least he saw it coming, so it's not a big mystery. Well, you know what? Let me. This is a good chance to see what kind of questions we have before we bring him back in. And a lot of love. This is awesome. I'll see if there's some questions though. I see a lot of love, which we have for this man and his music. But if you've got some specific questions, drop them in there. We've got a little bit more on this conversation, but we are gonna bring it in for a landing soon. So tell me if you got some questions. But a lot of people just saying they've seen some great shows. They love the music, supporting Bandcamp. Yeah, physical product. He's going to have CDs of this. Has to, because he sent me some of the previews. I shared about 3 or 4 of the pictures there with you. And there's 38 of them, as he said. And all really wild, very psychedelic, and some of them are actual recognizable figures and concepts, and some of them are kind of free-form, kind of surrealistic, as you saw, and as you're used to with some of Adrian's previous paintings. So there will be a physical version. Any questions that I can get ready here for when Adrian comes back? Someone also raised the point about how can we get back to 1980? I don't know if that's going to happen. So, Johnny, hey, Johnny's there. Yes, Johnny, thank you for jumping in on that tour. I remember that. A little background, while I have worked for Adrian for about 15 years, folks, I can't always be there. There's been a couple times. I didn't do the Crimson Trio ones where it was Adrian Belew Trio and Levin Trio. And then I was out with other bands a couple of years ago. I was out with Yes. I also worked for Yes and Steve Howe. And it's a first world problem. I'm not complaining, but one of the sad things that happens for me is I'll get the phone call from someone like Adrian or someone like, Weird Al one time. And you go, no, I can't do it because I'm on this other tour. Not complaining because, what a good problem to have. But Johnny, hey, good to see you there, man. I got to work with Johnny remotely and kind of, set him up with some things. Who else is here? Michael Inman is here. Adrian is, obviously, we all know it's like when your computer dies, you got to boot that back up and all that. Let me just make sure he's got the data to get back in. How about that, folks? analog, right? I mean, actually, it's digital, but the power supply is an analog thing. So again, we've heard a couple tracks from Elevator. We're going to hear something else in just a couple minutes. All right, folks. Thanks for being patient. And these things happen, and we're not solving world peace here. We're just having fun on a Friday evening for me, late afternoon for Adrian. But thank you so much for being a part of this. Let me say also while we're here, please subscribe, please like, ring the bell, do all that stuff. I always forget that, but please do that. And we love that you're supporting these ventures here on Make Weird Music. Also, check out makeweirdmusic.com. I mean, it's a no-brainer, but sometimes people forget that we have a really wonderful website. If I can say real quick, a couple people coming up. 2 weeks from tonight, Friday, June 18th, the one and only Lyle Workman is going to be here. Please dial in for that. Oh, is this okay? Let's see. Let me make sure I got Adrian able to get in here. Yep, it's the same link and everything. So Lyle Workman is going to be here in 2 weeks. The June 18th, Friday, June 18th. Wednesday, June 9th. I'm really excited about this one. That's in about 5 days. That's Wednesday coming up. That's my other show called The Gear Spotlight. And we've got Diego Teida. I'm really trying to make sure I say his name properly. But Diego is the keyboard player and one of the composers in the band Haken. Again, on that one, I hear people say it both ways. I'm going to ask him what's the right way. But amazing band. If y'all don't know them, Haken. Go check out Haken. Really great. They're kind of, boy, what are they? It's metal. It's progressive, but it's ambient. They get into some weird electronica little moments within there. Very interesting. Power pop even sometimes. But Diego's just a really creative and experimental keyboard player plus the progressive rock kind of flavor. So that's Wednesday in a couple days. And then in 2 weeks, Lyle Workman. And then we've got Friday, July 2nd, saxophonist Skerrick. A lot of you know who Skerrick is. And if you don't, he'll blow your mind. He's amazing. And he's also worked with so many incredible artists. So just a couple previews. You can find all these previews at makeweirdmusic.com. We put them up there quite regularly. We've also got Eric Norlander coming up, keyboard player, synthesist. He's got his own groups. He was in one of the versions of Asia through the years. And he's a synthesizer specialist who's been part of some pretty incredible recent analog synthesizers. And going back to the Alesis Andromeda. So we have Eric Norlander coming through. So all of these are going to be on makeweirdmusic.com. And the next one, though, is Diego on Wednesday. And 2 weeks from tonight, Lyle Workman right here on Confronting Creativity, right here on Make Weird Music YouTube. So thanks for your patience, folks. And Adrian's computer died, so that always takes 2 or 3 minutes. And here he comes. Okay, awesome. so we can jump back onto the chat. And hey, Aid, can you hear me?
Hey, I'm back.
Ah, awesome. There you are. You're yeah, just pull your video back for us.
Okay, here we go.
On the bottom there.
And then shut the mute.
There you go. No, the mute's good because we can hear you. Are you still? Can we hear you? No, you unmute. Yeah, hit the mute one more time.
Got it.
There we go. Awesome. So, so.
Hey, Johnny Luca, see, I actually figured it out. Johnny Luca, who works on our tours sometimes, he said he just texted me and he was watching the show. So
yes, I said
imagine my computer ran out because I've been using this without recharging it, of course. All right, yeah. So we're back. I'm sorry, folks.
It's all
Did
good.
You get to hear the song though?
Well, I was talking about the album, talking about some other stuff. We have time, so I'll play it while you're here. But okay. I spoke a little bit there about some of the other shows coming up and just some of your other things, including the fact one important thing that I made sure I mentioned to people. We're talking about Bandcamp and all these digital things, but there will be a beautiful CD version. I want to really make sure emphatically people understand that. Correct, Adrian? It's going to have the 38 artwork inside, yeah. Right?
Right. It's got 38 paintings. There are 6 paintings that take up CD panels, right? And then in the booklet, there's an open up thing where you have 32 more paintings. You know, they're still sizable enough that you get a good picture of what they are.
Yeah, that's great. So very important to note that, folks, that absolutely, if you, and we hope you get the CD, because then you get the whole 360 kind of experience. And adrianbelew.net is Adrian's official site. Go there and you can, get on the mailing list and find out when this record comes out. We're also going to let you know here on Make Weird Music. So if you just subscribe,
you can go to my Facebook page too.
Adrian,
make sure you go to the one that is the fan one. You'll know it because it has a lot more people there.
Right.
138,000 or something like that.
Fantastic. So
I certainly wouldn't want to have them all over for dinner. I know it's a lot of people.
But you have a lot of ways to find out there, folks. So you know what to do. A few people are saying hello and rocket scientists. Okay. Let's see. So we're going to go for, another 20 minutes or so. But folks, let me know if you've got a specific question for Adrian. But Aid, as I read these comments, just a lot of love. A lot of people just saying thank you. A lot of people saying thanks for the music, thanks for the years of inspiration, and I want to make sure.
That's the reason why I continue my Facebook page, is because so many people give me that same feeling, like, well, just saying thanks for the years that they've listened to my music. So I want to tell them that I'm so thankful for them. Your music and art both are about only one real thing: communication. So if you have no one to communicate to, it doesn't matter what you want to communicate.
Yeah. No, it's
write that down, folks.
That's a good one. That's a t-shirt. Well, before I play the last track, I want to just dart over a little bit to a couple memories, because I like to talk about what the artist is doing right now. And clearly we've been doing that. But as someone points out, they saw you in Stafford, UK with Frank Zappa. That was, to start your career with Frank Zappa, give us a quick memory of that, because you were a kid and he saw you at a club and then bingo, there you are. Give us a quick little thought.
Yeah, exactly that. Really, I was in a good band, covers band, and he just walked in after a show he played in Nashville, and there he was in the club all of a sudden, and sitting in front of us with some of his crew and people, from the band, and John Smothers, his bodyguard. And it was evident that, that's Frank Zappa. What a life-changing moment. It's just like, wow, I never realized that anything like that could seriously happen. It was like, and he got my name and number that night from the chauffeur who was a big fan. And then 6 months went by and nothing happened. So I'm thinking, oh, well, all right. Disappointing, And then one day the phone rings and it's him. And next thing I know, I'm on a plane for the first time in my life, traveling out to LA, Hollywood Hills, and I'm in Frank Zappa's basement. And there's 50 guitar players auditioning, by the way. There were 50, he said to me later. So it was a very scary and exciting moment at the same time. And then, you know, everything changed. Everything changed. And in that 1 year that I was with Frank, he took me under his wing. Well, he didn't have wings, but he took me under whatever he had. There he is. There you go, Frankie. Look at that. And in 1 year's time, he caught me up on everything. I mean, we made a movie. We made a live record. We made we toured all of Europe. We toured all the United States. We just did it all in 10 months, 11 months time. And I was a pro suddenly, which is a good thing because all of a sudden people like David Bowie were knocking on my door. Come on in, David.
Yeah.
So, you know, I can never say enough about Frank and thank Frank so much for what he did for me. I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that that's how I would start my career. It's funny because when I was in my teen band, we always talk about the Denims who played Beatles songs and wore Beatle looking clothing and stuff and had Vox amplifiers. And we loved the Beatles stuff so much. We had a young manager. His name was Ray Limkel. And I remember one day he brought me the Freak Out album, Frank Zappa's first album, and also the first double album ever made. Right. And he gave it to me and he said, "You're probably the only person I know who might like this."
You're weird. So
yeah. But I mean, how the dots connect, you know? I would have never even thought about Frank Zappa, but that started me listening to some of his stuff. I was never a person who knew all of his records or anything, but
right.
Yeah, loved it.
Awesome. No, and then it's just a whirlwind after, as you said, you know,
really?
Bowie and Iggy Pop were at a show, right? And then next thing you know, and then someone came to a Bowie show, and then someone came. So it's a really wonderful history. And again, it would be here till midnight to go through and talk about Joe Cocker and Jean-Michel Jarre and Herbie Hancock and, you know, Mike Oldfield, who you sing on one of his records, Sarah.
And your buddy you just mentioned to me before we went on the show, Yurichi Sakamoto.
Well, that's who I wanted to zoom in on, because just to pick a real special friend of yours. And as I was saying before, I'm very good friends with his production manager, and I told them, you know, that we were talking, and Ryuichi sent a hello, and he's so wonderfully. To hear from you too, but talk a little bit about that, because that was a great record, Left-Handed Dream, and you always talk about when you work with Ryuichi. Share with the audience a little bit about that.
Well, I'm going to tell you the story as quickly as I can, but it's a little bit involved. I was asked to come to Japan. It would have been my fourth time in 3 years. First time with David Bowie, then the next year Talking Heads, the next year King Crimson, and then that same year I got a call. I knew who Yellow Magic Orchestra was a little bit. That was Ryuichi's band. But on the way over in the plane, I opened up a big, you know, like Life magazine thing or something, and it was they had an article about Yellow Magic Orchestra and how in Tokyo and in Japan, they were like the Beatles. They could not walk down the street. They were so famous. And here I am sitting in the plane going, these are the people I'm going to be playing with. I had no idea they were that kind of famous. And then we got there, and the studio was unbelievable. There was no such thing as a digital studio anywhere in the United States. It was up in a tall building right in the thick of all the stuff that Tokyo offers. And it was Sony. It was Sony's digital studio, their first one. Big studio with big glass windows and a great big recording room. So every time you went in the studio room with the control room, there were people everywhere. They were sitting watching us record. And, you know, and pretty much all of them spoke Japanese, some of them maybe a little bit of English, some of them, you know, so they would say to me, they never recorded together. They recorded one person at a time. They never played as a band in the studio. I suggested it to them. And later in the process, we did do that for one song. And that was the first time they'd ever done that. But anyway, the thing I remember most is, it would be my turn and they were all excited that I was here, play with David Bowie, and I would go out in the room and it's all glassed in and I'd put my headphones on and I'd play something on one of the songs and everyone in the control room would stand up and applaud. I've never had that happen before or since, that you get applauded while you're making the record.
Sure.
Yeah, it was so fun in it. And they were great because, they really, I loved their whole scene, and they took me out to some of the best little private spots, private bars where there's 8 people at a bar, and we had a lot of fun. It was great. It was a special thing because there was, there's the record cover, and the record cover, the same photographer, Mr. Sukita, is the same photographer who did Lone RHINO cover, and for me, and he also did Heroes for David Bowie. So you see that makeup they did on Ryuichi. They did it on me and the producer M. You remember M?
Yeah, the artist M.
The artist M.
Who had those albums?
Yeah.
Wow.
Talk about pop
music.
Pop music, yeah.
Wow.
That was him, a British guy. So he was there producing the record.
Wow.
And I don't know why, because just what he normally did is so different.
Yeah.
But he was a lovely guy. I really enjoyed him. And they have the 3 of us on the back with the makeup on. And it's so Japanese looking, the whole thing. And the whole thing was so Japanese. I mean, it was, I'm always so thrilled to go there and see the differences in cultures.
Love it.
And Tokyo itself is just, oh my gosh, it's breathtaking how much is going on in that place. It really is. So, and you got to understand, then I have just started. I had just played, like I said, I was just then in King Crimson. We had just made the Discipline record. So early part of all that stuff happening, but another link in that fantastic 5-year period that just would blow your mind. If when I look back on it, I have to shake my head. Did that really happen? But it did. I wish I could go through it again. Of course.
It was a whirlwind. Well, that's great. I just wanted to really put a pin on that one record because that's one that I meet people all the time. They don't know that one, and they.
Well, of course not. It's not. They were huge in Japan, but nobody knew them here. That's why I didn't know them.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting to note that there's cultures all around the world that have their giant stars, and you may not even know who they are in India or Pakistan or somewhere, so it's interesting. The only ones that everybody knew are probably the Beatles and the Stones.
That's definitely global. And
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Yeah.
They went viral. I think it's viral is the word.
That's right. But well, folks, do your homework there. Go check out Left Hand Dream. It's one of the early records that Adrian played on, and really it still holds up. So let's come back to Elevator, of course. Again, that's about to come out, folks. As Adrian said, just a lot of I got goosebumps from the couple of songs I've heard already, and it is very fun and uplifting and positive, which is what he was going for with the sounds and the lyrics. So we got one more in the preview bin here. And this one is, let's see, we got Back to Love, Good Morning Sun. Oh, we heard.
This is Good Morning Sun.
Good Morning Sun's the last one, right? We heard A Car I Can Talk To and Back to Love. So tell us a little bit about what's behind Good Morning Sun.
Well, it's got sort of a tribal rhythmic thing going on and a really interesting set of guitars playing together. And I just thought, I'd like to sort of make it like a group of people singing. I used the word tribe. This is sort of like a bunch of people in the studio singing. So I affected my voice when I say, I don't mean with effects, the way I sang things. I sang a little off key on one of the tracks, and I sang like, more like a female kind of sound, and I sound like and I put them all together. So it sounds like a bunch of people singing together.
Oh, that's great.
And it's just about how much better life is when the sun is shining. And I got this line in there about the sun. Good morning, sun. Get up, come on, we need you now. We got to get to work. We got to play. Everything's better when you're out in the sky there, And you're the line I like is, you're the head dude of the universe. Come on.
Okay.
So that's what you're going to hear, and it's pretty fun and upbeat. And I really like the guitar thing that starts it off. It's a pretty long intro to this before the vocals come in, because I'm so in love with this little guitar loopy thing that I put at the front. But here you go. It's
okay. And is this with a Strat or one of the Parker?
That was the first Parker that I had.
Okay.
A little red Parker that they gave me in Japan. Probably that same year I was doing Ryuichi's record.
Oh wow.
And it played through that little rig that I was talking about. But it just happened to be that one that got captured, I did on this record switch back to some old Strats that I had. And one of the Strats that I have, I had put in a system. It's 6 3-way switches. And between those 6 switches, you can get all the 35 possible sounds that a Strat can get.
Wow.
Out of phase ones and all the combinations. So that first song earlier that you heard, I Want a Car I Can Talk To, has a lot of those different out of phase sounds from the Strat.
Okay.
This one I think is the good old Parker.
That's great. And I know the fan side of me is so excited to hear you back on a Strat. And before we play the track, folks, look just past Adrian's head, and there's the old Strat right there.
There it is.
That's the one, man.
Somewhere back there. I don't want to turn around, but it's back there.
There it is. And on the other side of him, you could see the kind of Mondrian multi-panel one that was in the video of
the
him
Twang
showing
Bar
his
King.
Twang Bar King, right?
Twang
And
Bar
just-
King guitar.
And then
I want to talk Fender into releasing a reissue of the Twang Bar guitar, or maybe the beat up battered Strat. I don't know, but I'm not sure if they'll do that. It's a long process.
That's a long process. And then one more I see in the back, the kind of sky blue with the lightning bolt. Of course, the Laurie Anderson video.
Yeah, from the Home of the Brave.
Yeah.
That was a guitar that we just got it from Fender, and we sent it to her, and she wanted to paint them. There were 2 of them. And on the back of that guitar, it has some of the words from Blue Lagoon. She painted the lyrics. Yeah, it's a great guitar, and a MIDI guitar, by the way.
And these guitars,
rolling, it's got a big old
on it. RS-232 connector or whatever.
Yeah.
And folks, these guitars, he uses them. They come down off the shelf every so often, and they get used. So it's not just for show. So that's great. That's a great little insight into the museum that Adrian Belew is literally sitting in. But this next song we're going to hear, again, has a Strat on it. It's part of this new record, Elevator. Let's go to Good Morning Sun. Here we go. And all the buttons are pushed.
sun, sun. Sun, sun, sun. Sun, sun.
Wow.
That was fun.
Upbeat, rhythmic. Someone said this is danceable. It sure is. What's great is if anyone has, many of you have seen Adrian Belew play live, you get a little dancing on stage. He's got, he get, he goes for it, and but that positivity, wow, you can really hear it, and this is going to be a fun record to listen to. Let's remind people too that because this came out, I think when things were a little crazy, and it also didn't get full attention. Pop-sided, I think people, I think let's remind people that's available on the Bandcamp, but that's a wonderful record and got a real power pop kind of edge to it.
I think this is the follow up to that particular record. I'm keeping going with. Pop-sided has 11 songs and one acoustic guitar instrumental. This one has 12 songs. So moving towards that direction, like Here and those records from that part of my career, I was just very much in a songwriting frenzy there, sitting in my bedroom with an acoustic guitar and just writing, or, going in the studio and making loops or anything I could do to come up with new songs. So this is the partner to that record. I don't know which one. I think I like this one better right now. Me, right now, but that's of course. But Pop-sided is. I got a lot of good compliments on it from my fans. So
that's great.
I appreciate that they like stuff.
And some good condiments like ketchup. Because
good condiments. Yeah, there's
so here's
mustard on that record.
That's right. I had a couple random things on my notes, and here's one. This is a wild card, which we love. And we talked about this a couple years ago, and it's still on my mind. We were in Turkey. Do you remember this? You played the show. We were walking around in beautiful Istanbul after the show, and we were really hungry, and we happened upon that place where they made only one thing: French fries. Remember that?
Oh, absolutely.
How good were those?
Oh, they were the best.
Dude.
Oh. And it was just a window. You walked up to a window and these French fries came out.
That's it. No, we talk about this, folks, like every couple of years, because you got to understand, we were really hungry. The whole band, we were walking around, and we come to this place, and there was two guys in there, and one guy is washing and peeling potatoes and frying them, and then the other guy took your money and talk about condiments. You had curry sauce and ketchup and all this, but I mean, you can't get better than fresh.
In Turkey.
In Turkey. And so we
Turks know how to make a French fry.
Who knew? Best ones we've had. We always say that. So that's our wild card question for the night. As we wrap up here, again, folks, check out the website. Check out Adrian's Facebook, his Twitter, his Bandcamp. Get on board with what's happening. The man's going to be really busy this year. He's got the Turquoise run coming up, and that starts in July, correct?
July 3rd is the first date. Yes.
Okay, so look for
Right
that.
around the corner.
Right around the corner, you get to hear the Remain in Light music and a lot of music from that famous Talking Heads 1980 tour with two people from the album, Adrian and Jerry Harrison. So it's going to be exciting. And then I know you said you got a lot of interviews and things promoting your own new record, Elevator, coming up. But then we have to say, and you and I, in fact, the most recent tour we did was when we did Iceland and Peru and Brazil and Chile and Uruguay and Paraguay. Oh my God, what a month that was.
Ooh.
And it was celebrating David Bowie. And we're looking at that for the fall.
That's right. There's more possibly of that coming in the fall. And I even got they're not sure exactly what's happening, but I'm hoping there will be more now. They've brought in as a part of the management team, Miles Copeland, who is a name, of course, you're familiar with.
People will
Stuart
know.
Copeland's brother, who was the head of IRS Records and, a real genius in that field. So I'm hoping that he can help, turn some things up for celebrating David Bowie. And I know we got another offer for Europe, but I can't talk about all this stuff.
Sure. No,
I don't want to jinx it.
That's okay. No, but just to put it on the radar for people, because that's a pretty incredible tour. Because again, that ties back to Adrian's many years actually with David Bowie, both in the late '70s and then 1990, and the band is incredible. It's a rotating band. There's all these wonderful players. Some have played with Bowie. Some are all-stars like Michael Urbano or Angelo Moore from Fishbone. Davey Farraher from Elvis Costello's band.
Every city we go in, we invite guest stars. So we've had Sting, we've had, Living Color, we've had all kinds of people play with us from different bands. You wouldn't, Duran, and just all kinds of people. That happens in every city as well. And sometimes the most exciting thing to me, one of the most, is that most cities we have an orchestra sometimes.
Right.
Not every city. On top of that, by the way, these are all things that were supposed to have happened last year, 2020.
That's it.
They were in place. We already had a South American tour. I think that will come back. For my personal music, my band, the four-piece band that I have, no longer the power trio, the power quartet, I suppose.
Power quartet? No, that's...
And I think some of those things will start happening early next year. I want to get that band back to work. And it's going to be wonderful to do that again. The last tour we did, I think many of the fans said to me it was their favorite show that we've done, because there were more of the song things like Big Blue Sun and The Malmer, and we broke out a lot of stuff that we hadn't played for a while. And I expect we'll do something like that again. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. And we are I'm working with Scroat to present some of this stuff, because as you said, there was an orchestra. We did that orchestra. We were in Iceland. This is with Todd Rundgren doing Space Oddity. Look at the size of that. There's Adrian. There's André Moore. Todd Rundgren in the middle. So.
Right now.
Yeah. There's some backstage fun, but there's the orchestra. So just a quick preview there, folks, because and the point there is to just really, I always like to make sure people know that the cornucopia of stuff that's happening in Adrian Belew world. He's always doing sessions. He's always laying down tracks here and there. He's always working on a new record with William Shatner or somebody. He's doing his own music. He's got the Celebrating Bowie material. It's just really inspiring, Aid. Your energy and your, if I can throw in a personal thing there too, because I'm saying everyone else's stuff, but it's such a joy to work with you all these years, because I stay inspired. And
thank you, sir.
You keep me young, because I look at you and I go, I got to catch up to this guy.
Yeah. And you are young. You're young at heart. That's the wonderful thing about a lot of people I meet in the music world. I think creativity helps keep you young. I believe that, honestly, because
It does.
there's some young spirit inside of us. We're all still kind of little kids who are excited by what we do.
It does, and I know, just looking at the comments, I know that people feel that too, and your love for nature and talking to us about the birds.
Right behind me is my backyard.
Yeah.
Wait, I'll try to get you a look at that.
The dinosaurs.
Can you see that?
Yeah, love it. It's
And
a tranquil place.
as we've been doing this, I've been watching birds and squirrels and everything coming down. There's a little feeding area outside the studio window there.
And I see we flashed past the 9 Inch Nails Downward Spiral Award, right? Isn't that right there?
Yeah, there you go.
Look at that. Look at that, folks.
Yeah.
Only here on Make Weird Music. You get some little treats, because of course Adrian played on you played on 4 9 Inch Nails albums, right? At least,
4. Yeah.
At least, yeah. Ghosts and Downward Spiral and Hesitation Marks and The Fragile. So I
absolutely
love it. Such a crucial part of some of those records.
It was fun playing on those records too.
Yeah.
Trent gave me total freedom to just go wild, and that's what he wanted and expected of me.
Yeah.
And so when someone gives you that kind of free license, you open the toolbox all the way up and you dig down at the bottom.
So great. No, we could just do an hour on like the ghost sessions and things like that.
Yeah.
But that's another one. I meet people once in a while that don't know that one. But yeah, Adrian's on 4 really classic and fantastic 9 Inch Nails albums. Go check those out. But more importantly, make sure you tune in and find out when Elevators drops, which will be very soon. Well, Aid, thanks.
Andre, I've just decided now, when we have the All Adrian 24/7 channel,
Yeah.
All Adrian, you're going to be the DJ.
Okay.
You're hired already.
Well, remember we used to do that on a couple of tours ago. I made a little playlist.
You used to come out at the beginning of the show and say these kinds of things. It was wonderful.
I made a playlist, and it had the track you're on with Herbie or Tori Amos. There was the Tom Club Club. There was
there's some of the stuff I hadn't heard for years.
Right. And what was cool was a couple audience members caught on, but a lot of people, and I would come out and I'd say, "Do you realize you've just listened to an hour of Adrian?" And they'd go, "What are you talking about? It was Paul Simon, and I heard Herbie Hancock. He's on all those tunes. Frank Zappa, David Bowie. And it was fun because it really just laid the groundwork to, holy crap, he's on all these records. And now we're going to hear him for 2 hours. So,
that was a beautiful way to start a show. I really enjoyed it. You did great with that. And I think when you have your own show, it should be immersive. You should walk in, and even the play on music should have connection to what you're going to be doing, and the play off music should make you still want to do more and think more about, because when you go to see an artist or a band that you like, I think that's your chance to do that. And I want to say to people, thank you for coming to all these shows, and don't stop and get people to come to these shows and buy these records now, because I hate to say this, but you never know when I'm going to zoom off this planet. I don't want to, but not right now. I'm having a ball. But if there's someone in your life that you think needs to see something, I mean, that's what I would do. If there's someone I really am fond of, I'd make sure my kids or my whoever means something to me comes to it, because you never know. And by the way, that's the title of the song I wrote about David Bowie.
You never know.
After he passed, you never know.
You never know. That's
I always
great.
thought I'd see David again. You never know.
No, it's true, and
that's why I like celebrating him. I know he's still looking down and saying, thank you, Adrian. You're still playing my music. Yeah, I am, because I love you, brother.
That's awesome. That's so inspiring. Well, Aid, thanks so much for some time tonight, and we'll do this again, and we will definitely let our audience know when the record actually drops. Anything else? I think that was a great closing statement, but anything else?
No, actually, that was my closing statement.
Okay,
just
great.
To say thanks to everyone.
Okay, awesome.
I do this for a reason. I do it because I love it, and I want other people to enjoy it. And so that's it right there.
Pure
I
love.
don't do it for whatever you might think I do it for, money or fame or whatever. That stuff is secondary to it's about creating and trying to make people happy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It
Love you all.
Love it. So stay on, Aid. Stay on for a minute. I'm just gonna end the stream, but then you stay on, folks. Thank you so much, André Chumley here. And you can find me at Guitar Tour, where I let you know about all the different things I'm doing. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, even, and Instagram, and Guitar Tour. And I'll let you know right now, in 5 days, Wednesday the 9th, on my Gear Spotlight show, I've got Diego Teida from Haken, the amazing synthesist and keyboard player. That's this Wednesday coming up. And 2 weeks from tonight, actually a friend of Adrian's, Lyle Workman, the wonderful guitarist.
Yeah.
Lyle actually came out and played on, sat in on a few songs.
Yeah, he did. In LA.
Yeah. Celebrating Bowie. So that's in 2 weeks from tonight. And then we've got Skerrick a couple weeks after that, Eric Norlander. You can find out all about these by just subscribing and liking. We'll let you know. But thank you so much for helping us celebrate music that's not in the normal box. And we're going to keep doing that. And Adrian Belew.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. And we've had one of the progenitors of that inspiration to just get outside of the box. Thank you, Adrian Belew. Stay online. And folks, we'll see you soon. And thank you for watching.